Welcome to the eXp CRE Secrets podcast, where we believe most commercial real estate and residential brokers, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven brokerage model such as the eXp commercial brokerage model is the best way for you to grow your wealth, along with investing in investment real estate. I'm excited about our next guest. He is a 15-year veteran in the residential and commercial, mostly the commercial space for brokerage, as well as the business brokerage space. And it happens to be an insurance professional. And we're going to be talking about not being put in a box, right? And finding ways to collaborate and help your clients by offering multiple solutions. So please welcome to the show with me, Harold McGee. Hey, Harold, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Brett, how are you?
Hey, I'm better than I deserve. Excited to get the show going with you here. So, for our listeners learning about you for the first time, would you give our listeners a little bit about your story and your current focus?
Sure. Yeah. So, got into real estate, and I got my real estate and insurance licenses both in the year of 2005. Life at that time had just kind of led me into real estate with some connections I made, and I met a great referral broker in California. She started referring me all of her clients out of California, and after I closed my first deal with them in 2007, they asked me to take over their property management. And at that time, I didn't know anything about property management, but I did know it was a residual based business. So I just kind of jumped in, got with my broker at that time, and we just kind of jumped in and started doing it and started learning about it. And things were going well. And then 2008, 2009 came along, and we had just kind of, worked along in that time, maintaining what we had. And then about 2010, 2011, I started getting calls from the investors and saying, "Hey, we're ready to buy more." And I had one client who had taken over their trust, took it away from their advisors, and said, "I'm coming into Austin. I've got $1 million. Let's let's see what we can find." She couldn't have timed it any better. I think it was in 2012. She bought between, I think, nine properties, all cash, and just started growing and growing from there. I had brought on an associate, and then in 2016, 2014, 2015 is when I learned about infinite banking. And on the insurance side, I just happened to have an insurance license that I kept renewing every year, not really practicing in it. And I decided that time I was going to take that on. I sold my management company to the agent, now broker, who was helping me run it, build it, and I really have been involved in teaching and infinite banking to all of my real estate investors and agents and professionals,
Got
and
it.
then also started picking up some business brokerage, and helping entrepreneurs sell their businesses. So
Amazing. Amazing. So
yeah.
much there. And I love that you didn't allow yourself to be put in a box, right? You sold some real estate, did some property management, and then as well, insurance professional and looking at infinite banking and different aspects. I think it's important in now business brokerage, right? I think it's important to be able to specialize, but also at the same time being able to be adapt and or find others who are specialists in that area so that you can really serve your client. So I'm curious, the EXP part of the conversation, how
Mhm.
has EXP helped you to collaborate, help you to connect with more folks and also to grow your business?
Yeah, I tell you what, um, joining the EXP has been the best thing that my wife and I have done professionally. But well, in ever. We we had a franchise brokerage back in starting in 2010 after we first met. She actually was my broker. I was an agent license at that time. She was the broker, and that franchise was an upstart. Went through it for a couple of years. It didn't quite make it, so then we had to decide what we were going to do. Were we going to go independent, one of our contacts said, "Hey, why don't you go talk to KW?" I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." And so we went in and we were introduced to the team leader at the time was Gene Frederick in the Northwest Market Center in Austin. Sat down with Gene and made a deal with him, decided to come on board. Uh, we were there for just over 2 years, renewed into our third year, and said, you know what, we have brought on a couple of people. There's a little bit of the profit sharing trail to it. Let's just go ahead and finish out this third year, and then we're going to go independent. That way, we're vested. So if anything good happens, we can take care of that. And Gene had already left, kind of retired. And then in May of 2015, Gene's daughter Nicole called us, said, "Hey, just want to let you know what Gene's up to since he retired, and we'd love to sit down and talk with y'all." I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And that was on Friday afternoon when we were leaving our office. I said, "What's the name of it?" And so I'll look at it over the weekend. And so we were going to meet him Monday morning. And she told me the name. I wrote it down, did some research. I went, oh my goodness, this is it. This is exactly what we're looking for, because I love recruiting. And so when we met Nicole and Gene on Monday morning, I was like, give us the paperwork. We're ready. So yeah, we came in 2015. We've been taking advantage of the stock purchase plan ever since then, when it was a penny stock. And so that, I mean, just, I watched your videos where you pull out the cash flow quadrant, which I'm a huge, believer in, and start applying that between the revenue share and the stock purchase. And now the value of the stock, obviously, as you know, over the last 9 months, it just have been over the top.
Yeah, and by the way, let's pause and make sure I emphasize a few points there. So if for those who are listening for the first time who don't know about eXp or eXp Commercial, which just launched, essentially they're making the model, and they're making owners of the agents by every deal that you close, and if you train and coach other people to close deals as well, and as they close deals and they cap, you get what's called stock, and that stock itself. I did a video. You can go to YouTube and at the Expert CRE Secrets podcast YouTube channel, and it literally, I looked at my last number of years between the years when I first got approached about 5 years ago with eXp, and I said no to it because I thought it was too good to be true. I thought it was MLM. I thought it was just kind of crazy. Said no. That stock would be worth right now about $740,000 or something dollars just
I
by
watched
doing the
it last
deals.
night. Yeah.
Yeah, just the deals that I personally closed, right? And so Harold was smart enough to get in there sooner than me when it was a penny stock, and as he's closing deals, he's getting stock in the company. And so fast forward, that stock is worth $120 or so. We're recording this in February of 2021. And so that's a phenomenal rate of appreciation. Any other thoughts on that, Harold?
Well, to kind of follow up on that, the first two transactions that we closed in August of 2015, because of the price of stock, right, we were able to buy 1,800 shares at about out of 62, 65 cents. And you can equate to whatever those two, it's like that's a trail on commission.
And that was a
Right.
10% discount, right? So it would have been
No,
like
no. It
at
was
that
a
time.
20%
Oh,
discount
at
at
that
that
time it
time.
was 20%. Okay, now it's
At
10%.
that time, it was
Maybe
20
shifted a little
because
bit.
it was such a small dollar
Yeah.
stock, right?
Mhm.
So, not even a dollar.
Got
And
it.
when they told us about it, we thought, oh, well, that's cute, right? It's a penny stock. You don't think much. Now, it just so happens after college in the 90s, I got my Series 7 and 63. So I went into the investment world
Mm-hmm.
with Fidelity Investments in their
Mm-hmm.
call center. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew about the stock market,
Mm-hmm.
options and trading and all that. So I just thought, oh, that's really neat. I know about penny stocks over the counter,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, we'll take 5% of our commissions and start buying it. If something happens, Well, something has happened. So
Well, congratulations, Harold, having the discipline, right? And also, not to oversight Gene Frederick, he's a Hall of Famer when it comes to eXp. There's a few Hall of Famers out there, and he's an inspiration, just to say the least. And so, and by the way, Harold's in Austin, Texas area. That's like, and Gene is, I think he's probably one of the biggest teams in eXp now.
yeah, yeah,
So back to just the actual, beyond just the stock and the revenue sharing, let's talk about culture and leadership, okay? Because like when you said in the beginning, it was the best professional decision I've ever made. And I know that goes beyond, just the stock. And I've been with eXp now for about 7-8 months now. And eXp commercial just launched. I'm part of kind of the initial kind of commercial guys. I'm an ex-Marcus and Millichap guy. So we never got stock, right? And the loyalty just wasn't there. Talk about the loyalty, the camaraderie, the collaboration, and the leadership, which to me is why it went from a penny stock to where it's at. It's not just, hey, we do stock sharing and revenue sharing. That's a big part of it, but it's literally, we're all in this together. So just talk about that piece of it, Harold.
yeah. And it's EXP has been with the genius mindset of Glenn Sanford is, um, you know, filling in that little gap that was always kind of left between the companies that did give you some kind of override or profit sharing in KW's case, right? But you still just owned your little practice business, and that's all it's ever going to be. With this, you're now coming to the mindset where you want to, whether you're a recruiter or not a recruiter, whether you're a icon agent or you're a capper or you're getting new and you're able to, just sustain yourself. Maybe you're just getting up to your cap, but not quite, right? Whether fit into any one of those, you're still an owner. So now you have the incentive to want to help any other agent owners out there, because the more that's in there, the more the value drives up for the company. And so it just, when you start thinking about it that way, that's why you see so many leaders out there openly sharing. You talk about it, especially in the commercial world, you're training your future competition. In this, you come in and train somebody and you're in the revenue share group, you're like, okay, when you're ready to go out on your own, go, right? I still have my revenue share from what you're doing, so I'm incentivized to help you grow and move on, right? And
Right.
start
I want to
growing
make
your
it
own
a
team.
10, I want a 10x, right? In
Right,
Marcus Millichap days, it always felt 50-50. Like, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine, maybe do 3 or 4 or 5 deals together, but then now I'm your competition, right? Or now I leave the firm completely. And not even just like Marcus and Millichap, their internal one. Like, what happens when the person goes to see Richard Ellis? Like, now they lost everything. They just poured blood, sweat, and tears for 2, 3, 4, 5 years to somebody. And now they take all the secrets and they go compete directly against you. It was stacked against you. And in this model, we were saying, no, I want to give you all my secrets. I want you to be 10x successful, because I know that in the future, you'll be a good leader and you'll be able to coach and train more people to be as successful as you. And then we all get to share in that revenue, which is the genius of it. And it reminds me of the rich broker, poor broker, right? So we touched on that a little bit ago, which is the cash
yeah,
flow quadrant. It's actually Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And this one I call the rich broker, pro broker, right? You have the E quadrant, you're an employee, W-2. You have the S quadrant where you're like self-employed. That's kind of like where most real estate agents are. They're
right,
self-employed underneath somebody else. But then you have the business side of it and then the investor side of it. So what eXp basically does is say, hey, instead of being on the poor broker side, and by the way, most successful brokers are not poor, so don't think of it like that, but just think of it on the cash flow part. Why not go on the rich side and be a business owner and an investor? And by the way, still sell real estate like you've always done it before, right? It's not even really just changing what you're doing, although you can recruit, you don't have to, but it's just basically taking it and moving it to the other quadrant. And now you become a business owner and you're building out your team and your dream, right? Brent Gove says it well, it's one team, one dream, right? Versus
hmm
the big box corporation where it's their dream and it's their upper management and it's their shareholders. They're the ones that are on the rich broker side. So any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. Agree with you 100%. Again, it just, it takes all the good business models thus far that have worked, and it just kind of have the possibility to 10x that, right? So if you have someone who's gone on and built maybe a small boutique, um, with some good agents, some good inside support staff, and they're doing great, right? But it's just that now you plug that into this model, and that can just go 10x, because if you have a great team, invariably or inevitably, one of those of your good or great salespeople are going to go off and start their own team,
Correct.
right? And in this system, he's like, okay, that's fine.
Right.
How can I help you? What can I do to help you? Right?
Exactly, exactly, and it's all part of that not being put in a box, right? And indeed, the old model, I feel like you're stuck in that employee self-employed box, right? And on this side, we're in the BI box, and then even
Right.
outside of that, right, where you have, for example, I'm a deferred sales trust expert, and I had the privilege of speaking at eXp commercial event in front of 2,000 guests online, and I'm talking about the deferred sales trust. Whereas at Marcus and Millichap, they didn't want me to talk about that. I mean, well, at least my second manager didn't. My first one was cool with it, but then they fired him. And then the second one didn't want me to talk about it. And he
Yeah.
only wanted me to talk about the 1031 exchange. And I'm going, but that's not necessarily best for the client. Or EXP, they're like, hey, if it's good for the client, we're a tech-driven company. We're a leadership company. We happen to sell real estate. Go add value, go win business, go build within the confines, right? Of what we set up. And that's the beauty of this entrepreneurial leadership, collaborative, I like to say tech savvy, right?
Oh,
Company
absolutely.
that is exploding like never seen before. But so now, I don't know if we answered one of the questions at the beginning. I want to re-dive back into that, but maybe you can just talk about the leadership of folks like Gene Frederick and the ability to mastermind and get coaching with them, and the others. Talk about just that, how not only the model financially aligns, but to me, it's time and energy to coach people, which is the most important part, right? Because as we grow as leaders, everything changes. And the way you grow as leaders is you connect with other leaders that are ahead of you. And the old model, they don't want to necessarily pour time and energy into, again, because unless you're on their direct team and unless you're not going to be their competition, they basically weren't going to give you their secrets. So talk about how this has opened up everything else, Harold.
Well, and the thing that's done that is the ownership, the stock ownership of the company, right? So now your mindset is changed to, hey, I want this company of which I own shares in to be very profitable and very valuable. So now your mindset is to go and help any and everybody to be successful in the company, because that's just going to increase the value of those stocks that you own. So yeah, whether it's Gene and delivering his um, his lead generation in 101 ways, which he rolled out in the 2015 um, conference, right? And there was just 100 of us there, a little over 100 of us there, and so, or whether you've got Brent Gove, who travels all around the country, doing all these events. It just the sharing is phenomenal. But I think one of the best things that I've seen and what's come out of the icon for all of the agents and brokers who hit that icon status, which you talked about, one of their obviously they get their cap back in shares, right? But you have to do something more to get, well, I think it was 60% of those shares. You have to be a leader within the company in order to do that. You have to be on calls, and you have to and be in the webinars and all the presentations, and be a part of that leadership, right? To share in your knowledge with
Coaching and giving
everybody.
back, right? Coaching and giving
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Beautiful.
So it just, the system is inherently built for leadership and growing leadership.
Excellent. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yes, I
All
think.
right. Knowing what you know now, Harold, what's the one golden nugget you would tell your 25-year-old self to do if you could go back and talk to yourself?
Well, I can tell you that I have a 22-year-old, and when he was 18, I set up his infinite banking insurance policy for him.
Mhm.
I would have done that if I had known at that time.
Excellent. And by the way, um, that's one of the most, I feel like, understood things, misunderstood things, and I'm just scratching
It is.
on that one too. And for Harold, for people who want to find out about that, where if they wanted to, learn more about that, how could they contact you? Just so they know.
My email's harold@hmcgee.com. First initial, last name, harold@hmcgee.com. Also, I'm big on LinkedIn. So it's n/H McGee.
Excellent.
You can get me
We'll,
there.
we'll mention that at the end of the show too. I just wanted to plug that real fast for the infinite banking part.
Yeah.
As well, next question: what's the number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Well, obviously, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash, right? And that's huge. I tell that to everybody. So get that. You can get it anywhere, including on the infinitebanking.org website, or you can get it on Amazon. And I read it and reread it once a year.
Perfect. Become your own banker. Excellent. Next question. What are you curious about right now?
Well, I'm curious to see, to see what additional growth that we can get out of eXp. Obviously, it's a big wide world, and we're going international. And I'm curious to see just how far this can be taken. I mean, it's real exciting times right now.
Yeah, it's truly a rocket ship. I think Hong Kong's opening up soon. Puerto Rico
Yeah,
just opened up. Mexico just opened up. I want to say Italy just opened up, and of course, the United States has been up. And the EXP commercial just
well, we're
launched 4 months
we
ago.
we we have a contact here in Austin that is from India. So
Mhm.
we have a cousin, well, not my cousin, his cousin,
Mhm.
that has been talking with the broker there, and there looks like they're going to be coming on. And then yeah, we're talking to someone in Mexico. Yeah, we're real excited.
That's amazing. Excellent. Last question, Harold. After all your success and after helping so many people with the sale of businesses, infinite banking, and commercial property management, as well as commercial brokerage, how do you stay centered in your values and how do you stay encouraged to reach for new goals?
So I'm a big believer in partnering. There's nothing that I do that I do by myself, except for the occasional writing up a sales contract for a good friend. Well, I'll represent them by myself. But other than that, I partner with others in all of my transactions. Whether it is infant banking, I have a partner that I work with, and even in the business brokerage, I have another eXp agent that we partner on and work transactions together with. So I just like doing the sales and consultation and the what ifs, right? And they are really good on the details of the transaction. So I stay centered because I'm partnered with other professionals.
Excellent. Well, great answer. And I want to thank you for being on the show, sharing a bit about your story, sharing the EXP commercial and what that's mean for you. And I appreciate you sharing that. And again, for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, Harold, what's the best place for them to find you?
Harold, HAROLD at hmcgee.com, HMCGEE.com.
Beautiful. And I want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Expert CRE Secrets podcast, where we believe most commercial real estate brokers, realtors, and luxury realtors, they struggle with clarifying their passive income options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven brokerage strategy such as the eXp commercial model and purchasing investment real estate is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, if you want to hear more and see how the eXp commercial model I believe is hands down the best way to grow your real estate business, go to expertcresecrets.com. That's expertcresecrets.com. And we appreciate you. Please rate, review, subscribe, and hope to see or have you listen or